Hey, what's up, everybody? Sports Gaming Rosters again. As you can see, I've decided to do a football, NFL slash Madden version of my NBA 2K slash NBA mock draft. So this is the 2022 NFL mock draft, Madden NFL 2022 version. This is after week 16, the draft order. Go to the amazing website tankathon.com to check out the order that I use. It's the if the draft was held today order. You know how it goes. So this video is not going to be quite as detailed visual wise as the basketball one because Madden's player models aren't as detailed themselves, but it'll be cool. It's cool anyway to see, you know, the guys in their NFL digs and just to talk a little bit about the prospects and yeah. I'm going to create a completely updated 2022 draft class, probably after players have finished declaring, which will be sometime in January. I'll churn out a good, fully updated, fully detailed one. So if you, this is a good time to start your draft class over because I'm the man, I'm the original. Don't download anybody who just copied my stuff. Wait for this one, it'll be worth it. So yeah, with all that being said, let's get into the draft and start talking about these players. Jacksonville Jaguars once again have the first overall pick, and I think it's pretty clear that Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan is the top available prospect right now. Uh, I had Kayvon Thibodeau like most people for a while, but Hutchinson has just been so consistent and such a beast and such an all-around great defensive lineman that he's got to be the number one guy right now. If uh, if you, the teams don't draft quarterbacks, first of all, it's usually defensive ends or offensive tackles. That seems to be the way that most people go. I know Jacksonville has drafted Josh Allen and Chison the past few years, but they're uh, they're a miserable roster with holes all over the place, and they can't afford to not draft the best player available. So that's looking like Hutchinson for sure. I don't think he's quite on the level of a Myles Garrett or even the Bosa brothers, who he's really lazily compared to, because white defensive ends from the Big Ten, they're all the same. But this draft, which I think it's a deep draft, but it's not high on top talent. It's one of those down year drafts, like the year that Eric Fisher was the first overall pick. So Hutchinson, man, he put it all together as a senior after being injured as a junior. Decided to come back and give it one more try, and that was easily the right decision. So the rare senior defender to go first overall, but Aiden Hutchinson gave the Jaguars defense, which isn't absolutely terrible. I mean, they're not great, obviously, but there's pieces to work with, and Hutchinson would be a great building block. So yeah, Hutchinson. Let me scroll through what I've created here. I'm just going to show you guys the info and the appearance and the equipment for each player as I go through. Yeah, and take a look at him right there in his Jaguar teal and black. Give Jacksonville fans some hope. It's going to be a long rebuilding process, but if you have Lawrence and if they can get a head coach who can actually, try to revive his career, because I think Urban Meyer has almost ruined him in record time. And you got Hutchinson on defense. That's something to build around. So yeah, the first pick, Jacksonville will take Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end from Michigan. With pick 2, the Detroit Lions select Kayvon Thibodeau, the defensive end from Oregon. He has been the consensus number 1 pick for a few months since Spencer Rattler fell on his face. He's still easy top 5, and I would be comfortable taking him top 1, which I guess in other words would be the first overall pick, right? But he's dealt with some nagging injuries and simply has not been as good as Aiden Hutchinson. But Detroit is like Jacksonville. They just need talent wherever they can get it and needed to draft the best player available. And right now that's looking like Thibodeau. So Hutchinson or Thibodeau, 2 great pass rushers. You can't go wrong with either guy. Detroit will probably take whoever Jacksonville doesn't. And that's Thibodeau in this mock. Former top recruit. Really get after the quarterback. Pass rushing terror. Should have no problem playing linebacker if Detroit sticks with their 3-4 defense. Yeah, so pick 2, Detroit goes with Kayvon Thibodeau, pass rusher from Oregon. All right, pick 3, Houston Texans go with Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback from LSU. Stingley, if you looked at him after his freshman season, he looked like the next Deion Sanders, just an amazing, unbelievable cornerback prospect. That was the LSU year that they just ran through everybody and had arguably the best season of all time. The past 2 years, LSU struggled and Stingley has struggled as well. The defense has kind of fallen apart around him, and he hasn't been that amazing prospect that he was as a freshman. But the talent's still there. This is a draft that's low on impact players. Stingley has a chance to definitely be just that. So despite the lack of production as a sophomore and a junior, I could still see him as an easy top 5 pick in this class. Houston has next to nothing on both sides of the ball, but Davis Mills has shown just enough that I don't think they're going to reach for one of the average quarterbacks right here. Definitely take a prospect like Stingley, add talent to that roster, see if you can deal Watson in the offseason, get some more picks, and build up, and then get your quarterback later. So this could go quite a few ways, but I'm going to stick with Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback from LSU, number 3 to the Houston Texans. All right, pick 4 in the first round, New York Jets. This is their own pick. They have 2 picks in the top 6. Select Evan Neal, offensive tackle from Alabama. So this is the 3rd straight year that they selected an offensive lineman in the first round. Casual Jets fans might not really like the thought of that, but if you want to protect Zach Wilson, who's already suffered a pretty serious injury, it makes sense to draft a stud offensive lineman. Evan Neal, 6'7", 350 pounds, just unheard of ability for a guy that size, athleticism. Of course, coming from Alabama, who pumps out offensive line.
Hey, hear that? Man. What?
Not much.
A Centurion or a little creep?
Look for a door release or something.
Year playing at Alabama, learning the pro style offense will set him up well, and he's an easy first round pick. So Oakland goes with Oakland. Las Vegas goes with Jamison Williams, wide receiver from Alabama, with the 17th pick. With the 18th pick, the Baltimore Ravens select Ahmad Gardner, cornerback from Cincinnati. Speaking of Jamison Williams, this is the guy that's going to line up opposite him during the college football playoff game between Alabama and Cincinnati. So for draft fans, that's going to be a really exciting matchup to see. Gardner, 6'3", a lot of experience playing for perhaps the best mid-major team we've seen in years and years and years. He's only given up 60 yards this entire season. He's got 3 interceptions in each of the last 3 seasons, so 9 combined. Tall, more physical than he looks. Just a very good all-around cornerback. We'll see if he can keep Jamison Williams in check. He could shoot up draft boards. I don't see him in a lot of first-round mocks for some reason. I've had him in mind the entire season, and I could put him toe-to-toe with anybody other than Derek Stingley right now. So I'm excited to see how he holds Williams and how Cincinnati fares. So yeah, with the 18th pick, Baltimore selects Ahmad Gardner from Cincinnati. With the 19th pick in the first round, the Philadelphia Eagles, this pick from the Miami Dolphins, selects Nakobe Dean, middle linebacker from Georgia. So the Eagles right now have picked 19, 20, and 23. Not exactly what they expected a couple months ago when it looked like they could really realistically have 3 top 10 picks, but they have 3 first-round picks and a real good chance to add a ton of talent to a roster who's playing pretty well right now. So Philadelphia has always relied on mid to late round picks or cast-offs at linebacker, never really gave it much of a thought, but maybe they'll actually address that position with all these picks. Nakobe Dean is definitely the best traditional linebacker in this class. Quick, 6'2", 225 pounds, sideline to sideline, 61 tackles, 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble. One of those interceptions went for a 50-yard touchdown. The Georgia defense is absolutely loaded with NFL prospects, and Dean might be the best available out of all of them. So he could play in the middle, he could play on the outside. He'd instantly be the best player in the linebacking group for the Eagles, and a solid pick here, the first of 3 picks coming up. So with pick 19, Philadelphia selects Nakobe Dean from Georgia. Forgot to scroll through. Let me scroll through and you can check this out while I ramble a bit. My man, Nakobe Dean, Georgia. Thanks. The 20th pick, the Philadelphia Eagles. This pick is their own selection. Take Kenyon Green, offensive lineman from Texas A&M. I had Green in my top 10 to start the season, and I don't think he's done anything but solidify himself as a very solid prospect. A lot of players have moved past him as the board has shuffled. He's switched between guard and tackle, but I definitely think he's interior lineman only at the next level. Very big, very strong, solid run blocker, powerful. Offensive line is not quite Philadelphia's biggest need, but they could use upgrades all throughout the interior. And with 3 picks, Kenyon Green represents very good value here. So, the Philadelphia Eagles at pick 20 select guard Kenyon Green from Texas A&M. With the 21st pick, the Miami Dolphins, this pick from San Francisco, selects Trevor Penning, offensive tackle, Northern Iowa. We do not often see Division II players selected in the first round, but Trevor Penning is special. He was the only offensive lineman to be nominated for Offensive Player of the Year, the Walter Payton Award. He's an all-around tackle prospect. Again, run blocking, pass blocking. Obviously, he hasn't faced a Aiden Hutchinson or a Thibodeau playing for Northern Iowa, but he's shut down everybody he's played against. Spencer Brown was a recent first-round pick from Northern Iowa, so they know how to develop NFL talent. They're one of the better teams in Division II. I think Penning's a definite once you get past Cross and Evan Neal. If you're looking for a true offensive tackle with great size and ability, I think Penning is number 3 right now. There's a lot of other guys that could step up, but the Dolphins, who have used a lot of first round and second round picks on offensive linemen, they haven't panned out yet, which means you just got to keep trying, especially if you have a quarterback who's dealt with quite a few injuries in the backfield and a running game that's not the most talented. You need offensive linemen. So keep trying, Dolphins. At pick 21, Miami selects Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa. With the 22nd pick in the first round, the New England Patriots select Drake London, wide receiver from USC. This guy was having a legendary start to his junior season, and unfortunately, he suffered an injury that knocked him out for the rest of the year. But the numbers through 8 games, only 8 games now, 88 receptions, 1,084 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So receptions by game, 12, 4, 13, 10, 9, 16, 15, and 9. So a target hog, a guy you can just relentlessly feed, at least in college. It doesn't work that way in the NFL, but in college he was a matchup nightmare. Won't run a 4.3, but he's 6'5", 210, a good athlete who played on the basketball team as well for a little while. We'll see if he can bounce back from his injury. Ankle injuries are tough, especially if you're a receiver, but that production simply cannot be ignored, and the Patriots need pass catchers, and they need pass catchers with size, and London would be a great fit with what they do in New England. So pick 22, the Patriots select Drake London, wide receiver from USC. Pick 23, the Philadelphia Eagles. This pick is from the Colts in the Carson Wentz trade. Select Kare Elam, cornerback from Florida. So it is not, I'm a Florida native, and it has not been a good season for college football in my state. Miami was terrible. Florida State was beyond terrible. Florida was bad. UCF is clearly the best team in this state. So going back to Florida, they were bad. Kare Elam, who has top 10 talent, great size, great natural ability, struggled along with the rest of the team. Made a lot of mental errors, but those things can be worked out. I think pick 23 is a great spot for somebody with his talent. Reminds me a lot of LSU Greedy Williams, who had similar issues that caused him to slide a little bit. Elam, good cover man, can pick the ball off. If he can be coached up properly, he could be a solid starting cornerback in the NFL. So the Eagles, 3 first-round picks, snatch up Kare Elam with pick 23 in the first round. With pick 24, the Arizona Cardinals select Kingsley Enagbare. Sure, I said that wrong. I always do. Pass rusher from South Carolina. Um, I spent the last decade in Columbia, South Carolina, before moving back to Florida a few years ago, and got to see a lot of good players come through the program. The Gamecocks aren't what they used to be, but they're still good for a first round pick every year or so. And Kingsley looks like the man this year. Um, one of the better pass rushers in college football the past 3 seasons. 14 sacks the past 3 years. A solid run defender as well. Good size, but enough ability to play stand up outside linebacker for a scheme like Arizona, who relies on their linebackers to do quite a bit of things. I think he'll fit right in. Chandler Jones obviously is a very good pass rusher, but they're looking for guys who can produce on the other side. And he looks like he could be a solid pass rusher at the next level, one of quite a few guys that can get after the quarterback being taken in the first round here. You see pass rushers and you see offensive linemen. Those guys are always drafted in the first round. You need people to get after the quarterback, and you need people to try to stop those guys. So, Enagbare, Kingsley, if I said that wrong, I'm sorry. Gamecock fans, goes to the Arizona Cardinals with pick 24. With pick, the Buffalo Bills select Nicholas Petit-Frere, offensive tackle from Ohio State. I had him in my top 15 for a while. He's kind of slipped in recent weeks, including getting absolutely manhandled by Aiden Hutchinson the other week. But I guess you can say that about pretty much every player Hutchinson has gone up against. Uh, yeah, he was good enough to be a long-time starting tackle for Ohio State, who regularly recruits top guys. I still like him as a prospect. He's 22 years old and still kind of a project, but this is a good spot at the end of the first round. The Bills have a solid roster despite underachieving big time this year, and their biggest need is probably the offensive line. They did draft Spencer Brown. They need guards, they need tackles, so I think he could play either position for them, and hopefully they can develop him into a solid piece. So, pick 25, Buffalo selects Nicholas Petit-Frere, offensive lineman, Ohio State. With the 26th pick, the surprising Cincinnati Bengals select cornerback Martin Emerson, Mississippi State. So yeah, the Bengals, despite being one of the better teams in the NFL this year, still have a lot of holes on the roster. Not surprising for a team that picked first overall just a couple of years ago. On the top of the list is cornerback. They've been relying on Trey Waynes, Eli Apple, some other cast-offs, and could use a long-term option. Picking this low in the first round, they're not going to get an elite player, but I like Emerson as a solid starting cornerback option. Only has one interception for his career, but has good size, is strong, and a solid tackler. Could do much worse at the end of the first round, especially for a team that just needs guys who can produce in the secondary. And I like Emerson as a legitimate late first round, early second round prospect. So there you go. Cincinnati selects Martin Emerson, cornerback, Mississippi State. With pick 27, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Chris Olave, wide receiver, Ohio State. A surprising non-declaration last year. He chose to return to Ohio State as a senior despite so many receivers on the roster, so much talent at the position, and he didn't really do anything to hurt his draft stock. Put together basically another solid season just like the past two. 13 touchdowns, 900 yards, 65 receptions, which is great numbers for a team with as many pass catchers as Ohio State has. Good speed, nice slot player, great route runner. Should be a solid contributor in the NFL pretty much right away. And Tampa Bay was able to return all 22 starters in 2021, but that definitely will not happen next year. Next year, they have a ton of free agents, including Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown at receiver, which could open up a spot for a guy like this to come in and catch some passes from Tom Brady for the next 20 years. So with pick 27, Tampa Bay selects Chris Olave, wide receiver, Ohio State. With the 28th pick in the first round, the Detroit Lions select Malik Willis, quarterback from Liberty. I would have liked to see more from Willis, to be honest with you. I had a lot of hope for him as a dark horse, top 5, even maybe the first overall pick. He started off the season really hot, but as the year went along, Liberty struggled, and so did he. Threw way too many interceptions, made some poor decisions, didn't really throw the ball the way he should. But the talent to be a dual threat option remains, and the Eagles are winning with a similar player, Jalen Hurts. Willis is a strong 6'1", 215, a good runner, has enough arm strength to keep defenses honest through the air if he can shore up, his mistakes. I don't see him as a top 10 pick anymore unless some team just really loves him during the combine. But the late first round, especially a team like Detroit, who still does have Jared Goff on the roster and can develop him for a year or two, he could be a solid starter. So Willis, I think he'll be late first, second round developmental guy with the chance to go much higher if he can wow scouts during the combine. But for right now, Detroit selects quarterback Malik Willis from Liberty. With the 29th pick, the Tennessee Titans select Jordan Davis, defensive tackle from Georgia. Monster, mountain, 6'6", 340, just a beast. And unlike a lot of guys his size who just sit there in the middle and don't do anything except absorb blocks, Davis is an athlete. He can get after the quarterback. He can even chase down some ball carriers. It's quite impressive to see him move the way he does, similar to Evan Neal of Alabama. He's just an unfair athlete for a man his size. I could definitely see him going a lot higher than this, but this is a good value pick for Tennessee. They have Jeffrey Simmons on the defensive line, and the other players aren't bad, but Davis, even at his size, I think could make a very good 3-4 defensive end across from Simmons. Good value here for the Titans, who are always looking to add more players who can get after the quarterback, like every other team in the NFL. So Tennessee, with pick 29, selects Jordan Davis, defensive tackle from Georgia. The 30th pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Cameron Thomas, defensive lineman from San Diego State. San Diego State was one of the best non-Power 5 teams in the country, and Cameron Thomas was probably the best player on that roster. He had 9.5 sacks throughout his first 2 seasons, and as a junior, had 11.5 and 71 tackles. So needless to say, this is a all-around stud defensive end, and another one to go in this first round. There's a lot of them, especially at the end of the first round. You see a lot of these playoff teams who just need that additional guy who can get after the quarterback to add to a rotation, and Dallas is obviously no different. Thomas declared after his junior season, I could definitely see him squeaking into the first round, if not for sure early second round. So the Dallas Cowboys, and Cameron Thomas wears number 99. I couldn't choose 99 because all the 90s were taken, so ignore the number on this guy here. So with pick 30, the Dallas Cowboys select Cameron Thomas, defensive end, San Diego State. With the 31st pick, the Kansas City Chiefs select Logan Hall, defensive end from Houston. Another defensive end going late in the first round. Good teams who need pass rushing help, they draft these guys late in the first round because by the time the next pick rolls around, you don't have a guy nearly this good available for you. So if someone's there, you got to snatch him up. Houston, another very good mid-major team. Peyton Turner first round pick from Houston defensive end a year or two ago. I think Hall's a better prospect than him. He's got some great size. 6 sacks as a red shirt junior. Doesn't tell the whole story. He's was always after the quarterback and a good run stopper as well. You love the size, and I think another guy who could squeeze into the late first round, especially for the Chiefs, who really struggled getting after the quarterback. Chris Jones had a pretty tough going of things so far. So adding a guy on the other side of him would do wonders for that defense. So late in the first round, pick 31, Kansas City Chiefs go with Logan Hall, defensive end from Houston. And finally, with the 32nd pick, the Green Bay Packers select Jahan Dotson, wide receiver, Penn State. Um, Perhaps the most productive receiver in college football this year. 91 receptions, 1,182 yards, 12 touchdowns. Uh, a good slot guy outside, just throw him wherever, and he can make plays, as evidenced by his career-defining game, an 11-catch, 242-yard, 3-touchdown performance against Maryland in November. Uh, Mocking a wide receiver to the Packers has kind of become a meme in and of itself these days, but for good reason. I mean, Devontae Adams can't do it all for one, and for two, he's an upcoming free agent. So Dotson is great value here at the very end of the first round. If he was a little bit bigger, he might go a little higher than this, but he was a bit of a role player his first 2 years, had a good junior year, and just exploded as a senior. So he's developed quite well throughout his career. 5'11", 184 pounds. A good player to round out the first round, and something that the Packers really need. So with pick 32, Green Bay selects Jahan Dotson, wide receiver, Penn State. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. If you reached the end of this video, congratulations. I hope you enjoyed it. Um, Sorry, I don't have a script that I read off of. I kind of just go off memory, and I'm reading some scouting reports and stats as I speak, and my mouth doesn't always, sync up with my brain very well. So there's some mumbling and some stumbling here and there, but there you go. That was my first attempt at a NFL mock draft YouTube video, Madden NFL 22 version. And as I say that, rest in peace, John Madden, who passed away yesterday. I'm 41 years old, so anybody who's around my age, they grew up listening to him and seeing his name on these football games and listening to his commentary and his booms and his whaps. You know, he was football. He was the voice of football for a long time, and this video game's been named after him. I'm old enough to have played John Madden Football, the original, on PC like 30 years ago. So yeah, rest in peace, John Madden. I'll continue to enjoy your games despite all the rough edges because I just love playing football games. So here I am against all odds, still chugging away. Yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know who you would like your team to pick. And I'll try to do this every week. Well, the season's almost over, so I'll do it throughout the off season. And yeah, if I can get to 1,000 subscribers, which is my goal, I'm almost halfway there. I'm going to purchase some better video editing equipment. I'm doing this all off in the PS5's very basic video editing software, so it's not the best, but I'm going to try to work a lot harder to make these videos better to watch, more exciting, more entertaining. So yeah, you're here on the ground floor. I really appreciate you guys watching this and commenting on my Madden draft classes. Like I said before, and I'll continue to say, these are the originals. I put a lot of work into these full 450 man classes. If people grab them from me, they'll go ahead and edit some ratings and stuff like that, but they don't edit the heights, the weights, the faces, the hometowns, all the equipment, all that stuff. That's me from scratch. All the research I do to build the player database from scratch. Yeah, it's hundreds and hundreds of hours of work. It's a year-long thing I do, and I do it to bring you guys the best classes because you deserve it. So if anybody takes credit for my work, just know who the originators are. The originator, I do this on my own as a father and as someone who works and as a husband. And yeah, I've always done it and I'll continue to do it. If NCAA drops a football game, I'll go ahead and do that too. So yeah, I've mumbled long enough. I've rambled on long enough. If you reach the end of this video, you're pretty crazy because this is a long video. So yeah, thanks guys, and I will see you next time.